What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. Shout out to Gub. Sorry, I had to do that real quick. And you guys know that I love comparing the gameplay. I love doing it for my own entertainment, really, and I pretty much just post it and show you guys. So what I thought today is, as yesterday, we got the awesome movement, footwork kind of flowing of Roy Jones Jr., prime Roy Jones Jr. I thought we'd get the key footwork moments that we've seen throughout all the gameplays and compare them together and see what you guys think. The first one I'm going to show you guys is from November 2020. That's the first footwork. It's the alpha footwork thing that first time we ever saw something like that. The next one is March 2021. That was the alpha gameplay. The one after that was July 2021, which was the gameplay walkthrough and dev update. And the newest one, of course, is December 2021 of the Roy Jones Jr. movement and footwork. Now, I've not just put all the gameplay in because this video would be like 25 minutes long. I've just taken all the key footwork moments out of those, and I'm going to show you guys one after the other, and then we're going to do some side-by-sides comparing them all to the Roy Jones Jr. one. So let's get into it. I'm going to hide my face, and let's get into the gameplay. Alright guys, so let's get into it. As you can see, this is, like I said, the alpha gameplay. I've taken all key parts, like I said, from the footwork, so I got rid of most punches, most freeze frames, screens, things like that. So you guys are pretty much just seeing the footwork. And like I said, this is from November 2020. Now, while people did complain about the punches, people have never really complained about the footwork, especially not in this. People complain more about the footwork in later gameplay. But this was the first thing we saw, and this was, I mean, pretty incredible. And then we move on to the alpha gameplay, where this is a lot more talking. We saw some feints, we saw a little bit of gameplay, and this is the only other time we've seen like a fighter just moving around like this by themselves. This is Lyndon Arthur, of course, moving around. His footwork here, I've never been a fan of his back foot here. His back foot, like it was, looks like it's detached from his ankle. I was never a huge fan of it, admittedly. It always looked incredible, but it was just I don't know what was up with his back foot in some of these clips. They looked like he was dragging it along. Now, I'm not sure if that's how Lyndon Arthur's back foot actually is. I don't think I've ever paid enough attention to his actual placement of his back foot. I may be wrong, but for me, that was just always a bit like, what the fuck's up with his back foot? So obviously, like you can see here, you know, lots of movement, lots of flowing. As always, like I said, guys, there wasn't too much complaining when it comes to the footwork, because the footwork always looked dead incredible. It really did. It always looked awesome. You know, we got to see a really good amount here. Some of the ways he moves, like this little section here where he bings it back, left foot, right foot, and switches those stance. I always thought that was super sick. That was like one of the literally my favorite things about this entire video. Not just the footwork, the entire gameplay that we saw. That was one of my favorite moments. Sorry guys, my phone has gone off there. And then we move on to the July gameplay. Now there was quite a lot here, and this is when they really show us the camera that zooms in, which obviously kind of resisted and restricts, sorry, how much footwork we really get to see, because a lot of this zooms in. So I tried to just get the parts where it's this part where it's mainly zoomed out and we can see them moving. I mean, we can still see them moving, of course, but we don't get to see their feet as much because, like I said, the camera does keep zooming in whenever they get close to each other. So this is, for the most part, what you can see for the footwork back in July, which, you know, still looks pretty decent. And now we go on to the most recent, which is the Roy Jones Jr. gameplay, which, as I've been saying, is just so fucking sick. It looks incredible. Not just everything in general from him flowing, but even the feet look like they're actually placing. Sometimes in these gameplays, the feet look like they're kind of almost not falling through the floor, but they look like they're not connecting with the floor. But this looks perfect. Other than the boots obviously just being the two-stripe, this does look perfect. I think it looks absolutely incredible. So what we're going to do, guys, now is I'm going to do a side-by-side of each one of these with the Roy Jones. So let's get... And now we go on to the comparisons. Obviously, at the top left, we've got the Roy Jones Jr. one from December, and down the bottom right, we've got the one from November 2020. So all of 13 months ago, guys. And one thing to know right away, one thing that I can see is, while the footwork does look good, Roy Jones definitely looks like he's got his feet more planted. The lighting, in some aspects, is definitely much better in the newer gameplay. Character models obviously have always looked good. The gameplay itself has always looked great, but you can just definitely see some improvements here. Then we go on to the one from March 2021, obviously compared yet again to the December 2021 of Roy Jones Jr. This is obviously the Lyndon Arthur one against the Roy Jones. And as always, you know, like I said, the lighting is far better in the Roy Jones one. Definitely his feet are more planted. Obviously, the Lyndon Arthur one looks a little bit shinier, maybe, you know, more of a sweatier character model, if you will. But, you know, all in all, still looks great. But you can, like I keep saying, guys, you can definitely see the improvement. And now we go on to the newest one, which is the July gameplay. And, you know, the lighting in that was pretty decent. Obviously, it was 2 fighters moving around opposed to the 1 fighter of Roy Jones Jr. But, you know, as always, guys, we can see here they've definitely made some improvement on the character models. They're definitely working hard. We can see that for sure. And, you know, here, just with the footwork, obviously, not to mention, you know, future gameplay we see of improving punches. I mean, the punch one's going to be incredible. When I compare the punches, holy shit, that's going to be nuts, guys. That is going to be insane, because you just know the improvements are going to be absolutely mega. And now, just while I talk in the background for a few seconds, just have this running, this Roy Jones Jr. gameplay running. Like I said, guys, you can definitely see the improvement over the last 13 months. One thing to take into consideration, which I've recently learned from game development, it tends to be when they put something new in, the game pretty much just breaks. Then they have to fix it. When they put something else in, the game pretty much breaks again. That's kind of the way it is. I think people seem to think that they get mocapped in, they put it on the character, then it's done. It's really not that simple. I see people saying that, you know, like when they scan them in. Well, surely they've scanned them in, so they should be in the game. They should just be able to put them in the game. But, like, through what movements? What movements will they... Okay, so let's say they mocap Lawrence Akali and they scan him in. We've seen him be mocapped. That's not something that takes 4 or 5 seconds. It does depend on, one, what the fighter is doing, how familiar the fighter is with mocap, which is why a lot of the mocap is done with Sonny Edwards, because he knows he knows how the mocap works. He's done it enough times for him to be good enough at the mocap to make their job easier. It's not about, like, the fighter themselves. You know, I mean, can you imagine... You know, you actually get an older fighter in there. Like, let's say we get Evander Holyfield in the game, for example. He's not in yet, but let's say we get him in the game, put him in a mocap. He ain't going to know what he's doing. He is not going to know what he's doing in a mocap. Like, he's not going to understand it. And that's something to take into consideration, guys. But for me, I think we can definitely see some improvement, not just on the footwork, but, you know, lighting, character models, and then, of course, definitely the footwork. But the footwork has always been a strong point for them. One thing we need to see next is the punches, for sure. We need to see the improvement of the punches for people to have more faith in the game. Footwork looks incredible. We can see that. But I will say, as a fan of the game, as someone who wants to play the game, we need to see some footwork. Definitely. Not footwork, punches. We need to see some punches. We need to see some fighting. You know, the footwork looks brilliant. We can see that. But now it's time to show us some fighting, show us some unedited clips. Just a minute of fighting, a minute of back and forth fighting. That's what we need to see next. We need to see that the punches have been improved, that the combat has been improved, the way the game flows has been improved, and that's what people need to see, and that will add more faith from the fans into the game. So trust me, guys, I know people think, you know, that people that make videos on ESBC are being paid and that we kiss their ass, but we don't. I know as well as you guys, what we need to see next is the punches. That is what we need, and that is what we deserve. So, you know, I hate to be entitled, but that's what the fans need. That's what people need to have more faith in the game as a whole, in my opinion, anyways. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. I really appreciate you guys watching. As always, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.